Hey, welcome to the day following today, a little different venue. It's Monday the 15th, 2018, and the topic today is cop watching or First Amendment auditing or Second Amendment auditing, Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment auditing. If you're unfamiliar with that, here we go. So my take. So first of all, what is it? It's a kind of a movement that's going across the country where uh, ordinary citizens get their cameras out, and as far as cop watching, they watch police perform their duties. So if they see somebody get pulled over, they pull over. They try to stay a respectful distance away and video the police, and they remain quiet. They just video it, and the purpose is to keep everyone honest, whether it's the person they pulled over honest, but more importantly, to keep the cops honest in what they do. That harkens back to the Rodney King incident and him getting beaten, and the gentleman that had an old school, video camera that, videotaped him. Fast forward now to 2018, and citizens are arming themselves with cameras and cell phones that have cameras, and they're videotaping or recording, there's no videotape anymore, recording interactions with police. Police don't know what's going on. They might come over and ask what you're doing, and these people say, I'm just video recording. And it's also a way to gauge how the police are going to respond to someone who is on public property, if you're on a sidewalk or someplace that you're allowed to be, and performing a constitutionally protected activity and recording the police, First Amendment protected activity. A lot of these cop watchers claim to be the press, and they have their either homemade credentials or no credentials, and they claim that their credentials are, the Constitution, which it is. There's no such thing really as press credentials. One particular news organization that is big or has spawned out of that movement is called PINAC. Photography is not a crime, PINAC. I believe his last name is Miller. I want to say Chuck Miller, but it's a guy from high school that I remember. Anyway, last name is Miller. He's from Miami. He started PINAC, and a lot of these First Amendment, cop watchers claim that they're with him because what they do is they upload the video to PINAC, and then PINAC highlights them, and they get clicks and all of that. So that's what cop watching is. There's a guy named Adamo Freeman who was part of this. There's a guy that was down in, I want to say San Antonio. He was a military vet. He graduated West Point. He also went to, I want to say Yale or one of the Ivy League schools and graduated. And he got arrested for filming across the street. No. He was filming at a gas station, some police officers roughing up a girl. And he was saying, hey, what are you doing that for? And across the street was another person that was filming, unbeknownst to either the cop or this guy. And that created a whole civil lawsuit and change in policies for I think it was Austin, maybe it was Austin, for the Austin PD, as far as policy change on how the police should interact with people taking video, taking pictures in public, especially in a place where they're allowed to be. The other side of that coin, or another iteration of that, is called First Amendment audits. First Amendment audit are citizen journalists who take their cameras to public places. They usually stand on public property, whether it's a sidewalk or an easement, and they video public buildings and public servants, whether it's an FBI building or a CIA building or a military base or police headquarters or whatever it is, but they usually DMV. They usually do it from the public, sidewalk or easement where they are allowed to be, and you can't trespass the eyes, so you can't trespass the camera, and they're gauging how public servants, whether it's police or anyone else, how they respond to a citizen exercising their rights. And it's usually also a kind of, they're looking for, and they'll claim that they're not, but if it's all about clicks and, if a public servant or a police officer doesn't respond, then nobody's going to watch, right? So they're there, and sometimes they're quiet, sometimes they exercise their Fifth Amendment right to remain silent, and they don't say anything, and to see how the police officer engages with them, or the public servant engages with them. There are a number of channels on YouTube that have a lot of subscribers in this realm. There's Tom Zebra, I believe he's out of Long Beach, California. There's High Desert Community Watch out of Riverside, San Bernardino area. There's San Joaquin Transparency. There's News Now Houston, News Now Patrick, News Now Philly. There's Chi-Town Sue. There's Pink Camera Magic. There's Granite State Transparency. There's Black Label. There's Mexican Padilla. There's Batosai, which interestingly enough had a Supreme Court case named after him. His last name is Turner, Philip Turner, and it's Turner versus Driver. I believe it was in 2017 out of the, I want to say, Fifth Circuit. But anyway, very famous, or not famous, a precedent-setting case. Look it up as far as what the details are. But I'm giving you some names of some folks that do this. There's a guy in Florida called Honor Your Oath. They're all over the place, and they all have different personalities. They approach it in different ways. I've been down this rabbit hole. I've watched a lot of other videos, and here's my take. Recently, again, this is 2018. Recently, it seems like they're going after each other for clicks, and they're trying to outdo each other, and that's not good, because it puts them in jeopardy, it puts the general public in jeopardy, and it makes the law enforcement kind of skittish, and rightfully so. There are some that are a little bit more aggressive than others. There are some that kind of do it better than others, and I'm not, I've watched a lot of them, and some of them have good days, some of them have bad days, but they're starting to go after. There's another guy named Johnny 5-0. There's a bunch of them, and they're starting to go after each other. There's one called Furry Potato, and they're starting to go after each other. They're starting to compete for clicks, I think, or compete for, I don't know, whatever. But they're bashing each other and criticizing each other for no reason, and it's going to put their industry, their kind of subculture, in jeopardy here if something isn't done about it, to either fix it, normalize it, regulate it, self-regulation, so to speak, not unionize, but become an association and set standards. Because if they don't, I'm a firm believer of define yourself or others will, and the fact that they're not defining themselves as a subculture means somebody else is going to come in and they're not going to like it. I have unsubscribed from most of them only because I've been down that rabbit hole. I've seen it, and I've also seen kind of the current state that it's in. There's one that I would like to kind of give a shout out to. He's been doing it for a long time, I think over 10 years, and I respect him because he's developed a rapport with the cops on the street and tries to engage them as humans, and hopefully they'll engage back with him as humans, and that's Tom Zebra. And if he's watching, I hope he is, I'll tag him in this. But I wish the subculture well. I wish the industry, if you want to call it an industry, because they are making money, they are monetized, or some of them are. I would just caution you to, again, define yourself or others will. And how does this relate to me? I've moved on. I've watched them. I've embraced their culture. I totally agree with what they're trying to do. Don't necessarily agree in all the different ways that they're getting there or they're doing it. For example, not for example as a bad way, but some of the more popular, more infamous events. Well, there's one in Morro Bay. There's one in Leona Valley. There's one another Texas town where somebody got Grisham got arrested. Anyway, I just caution you to be careful, and I wish you all the best. And lastly, like I say all the time, be good to yourself.